The Russian offensive in the east, specifically around Bakhmut, is near its culmination, and now it's just a fact, confirmed not just by Ukrainian sources, but also by the Western intelligence. And now it is just a matter of time whenever Ukrainians can fully liberate this city. Specifically because Russians start to make these statements about the upcoming offensive of the 1,000 drones by Ukrainians, which might be used in Bakhmut. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's go straight to the point and see some most recent footage. And as always, we begin with some cringe material. As you can see right here, some Z-Patriots in Volgograd region, they launched their own Sarmat missile, which is supposed to go towards Washington. At this rate, it will take several months or maybe even years to reach America, but to be honest, knowing the reliability of Russian missiles, I will not be surprised if it falls in the neighborhood settlement. Okay. Next, I have an update for you from Moscow about this strange thing which appeared in the Moscow subways, that something significant is going to happen on March 23rd. And apparently the Russian authorities realized that a lot of people already know about it, so they just had no other choice other than to say it was all a fake and hacker attacks. Nothing is supposed to happen, don't worry. And speaking about the trustworthiness of the Russian authorities, recently Dmitry Medvedev gave us some kind of interview where he said that the chances and the risks of the nuclear catastrophe are only increasing, and it is because of the Western countries sending weapons to Ukraine, not because of Russia constantly making empty threats that they will send nukes to the world. He also mentioned that historically Ukraine has always been a part of Russia, but let me tell you what, if you open the school books for elementary or at least middle school kids in Russia, you will know that in fact it was first Kiev Rus. So in fact it was Ukraine who started Russia. But I mean, it happened so long time ago, so maybe Medvedev realized that it's not worthy to know it anymore. And while the Russian authorities claim that they outplayed and outsmarted everyone, in fact in just 1 year alone, the total volume of trade of Russia between other countries by air has reduced by 60%, which brings Russia in the condition of 2001. Putin himself has always been claiming that this special military operation is going way better than expected, but recently the president of Finland has signed a bill that Finland will be joining NATO, which once again directly means that Russia failed one of its objectives, not to let NATO expand. And then, according to the acting Prime Minister of Slovakia, Eduard Heger, in case Putin steps on the territory of Slovakia, they will arrest him. The same statement came to us from the Minister of Justice of Ireland, Simon Harris, is that in case Putin ever visits Ireland, he will also be arrested. But wait, there is more. Even the alleged friends of Putin, the country of Armenia, they are also making the statements that they are about to join the Roman Statute, which basically means that in case Putin even visits Armenia, they will also be forced to arrest him. Even the friends of Putin already turn against him. But, well, Putin still does have some friends, for example in countries such as Hungary, which will be not arresting the president of Russia, at least for now. And just please let me ask you for a quick fact check. If you also know whether your country is legally obliged to arrest Putin if he crosses the border, can you please let us all in the comments know from which country you are from? And while doing this, you can also like this video and subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss any of the future updates on the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. I mean, war. Feel free to also check my second channel, The Russian Dude Clips, where I post under 1-minute summaries every single day. The link will be down below. Alright, and before we talk about this still controversial statement, whether Russian forces actually withdrew from Kakhovka or not, and also about the installation of Ukrainian flag in Crimea, let me briefly talk about the more supplies of Western military vehicles to Ukraine. And in this first picture from Finland, we can see a Leopard 2R tank, which the country will be sending to Ukraine in the number of 3, and this will be used to demine the territory. Then we have a statement from Spain, which claims that the country will be also sending 6 more of its Leopard tanks to Ukraine already next week. And then ultimately right here is the video from Slovakia, which shows that the country already passed 4 of its MiG planes to Ukraine, as you can see from this video. Alright, and now as promised, let's talk about this controversial situation in the south of Ukraine. But first of all, as you can see from this video, President Zelensky visited once again Kherson region, right after visiting Bakhmut just 1 day before. Then we have the statement by the Institute for the Study of War, which claims that Ukrainians intensify their activities of so-called clearing the left side of Dnipro river, which kinda means that they are attacking and making assaults against Russians once again. And in addition to that, Russians tried to send a reconnaissance group on boats on this river to collect the intelligence from Kherson, but Ukrainians were able to easily spot them and destroy them. And ultimately, on Thursday, the General Staff of Ukraine made a statement that the Russian forces were withdrawing from Kakhovka region. And later on, they refuted their own statement, saying that they were relying on yet unconfirmed information and there was some kind of miscommunication within the General Staff. But before you know it, the locals who actually live in these Kakhovka neighborhoods, they saw it with their own eyes, that Russians in fact were retreating or at least relocating to different positions further away from Dnipro river, and some of them were moving as far as 20 kilometers away from the front lines. And what I mean by that is that maybe the General Staff of Ukraine at first made the correct statement, but later they refuted it just to still preserve the secrecy behind potential operation of Ukrainians in the south. And it feels like we will know for sure soon enough. But okay, back to the south of Ukraine, and this time to Crimean Peninsula. And as you can see from this video, there is a Ukrainian flag which has been installed in this small town of Grushevka, located very deep inside peninsula. Was this just a prank? Maybe this was just partisans. But what I can tell for sure is that somebody does not like that Crimea belongs to Russia. Alright, now let's go a little bit to the north, to Zaporozhye region, and as you can see from this picture, Russians were distributing this fake money, which looked like Ukrainian currency hryvnia, but on the other side it was the urge to surrender text. So I mean, like, yeah, the Russian morale is depleting, the forces are not being resupplied, the number of soldiers is going down significantly, while Ukrainian morale is extremely high. They're waiting for the Western military equipment, and the majority of Ukrainian citizens and residents, they believe in the victory of their country. So yeah, definitely, it is Ukrainians who need to surrender. And ultimately, here is the video from the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, which shows that Ukrainian special forces were able to destroy 22 military objects of Russians in just 5 days. Unfortunately, I had to blur this video in order to comply with the YouTube guidelines, but if you want to see the full and uncensored version, I uploaded it on my Patreon. There is still 1 week of free access, and the link is down below. Right, in several seconds we'll talk about the attack of the 1,000 drones, but first of all let me give you a similar quick update from the east of Ukraine. And first of all, as you can see from this video which came to us from Kiev, unfortunately there was another drone attack against the capital of Ukraine, which resulted in the civilian building being severely damaged. Then we just quickly go outside of Russia to Yaroslavl region, located to the north of Moscow. And as you can see from this picture, an engine factory has been caught on fire. And what makes this incident so special is that this particular factory produces the engines for the vehicles which transport Russian intercontinental ballistic missiles Topol-M. So you just let me know, is it a coincidence or not? Alright, and now back to Ukraine, where once again, according to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, Russians conducted a limited offensive along Svatove-Kreminna front line with absolutely no success. But on the other hand, Ukrainians were able to destroy a Russian heavy flamethrower TOS-1 along with the ammunition truck to the west of Svatove. And in addition to that, Ukrainians were also able to destroy a cluster of Russian forces, their firing position to the south of Zherelne. As we go more to the south, we can see that Russians were able to advance a little bit to the west of Zolotarivka. And as we go to Bakhmut itself, Russians still try to advance to the northwest of this city with completely zero results in the last several days, but on the other hand, Ukrainians were able to destroy once again clusters of Russian forces to the south of Ivanovsk. And as for now, this critical road which goes through Ivanovsk all the way to Bakhmut is under full control by Ukrainians. At this point, it is just a matter of fact that Ukrainians were able to take the momentum away from the Russian offensive around Bakhmut, and Russians at the same time that they just continue to do their random attacks in random directions, mainly because this is what they have been using to do for the last several months, and they don't know anything else. But this time, such attacks yield absolutely no results, as you can see from this map, which shows you the changes in the last 3-4 days. We even have this video of a Ukrainian special forces, the detachment of Azov Kharkov, who came specifically to fight in Bakhmut, and using drones, they were able to discover 3 groups of Wagner soldiers of 10 people, and guess what? Destroy them. And just once again, if you want to see the full version with sounds, it will be available on my Patreon. The link is down below. And so yes, as you can see, the defenders of Bakhmut are getting extremely close to be completely successful in their objectives. And right now, it is not just Ukrainian intelligence or media which says that Russian offensive has completely stalled in the east of Ukraine. Right now, it is also the Western analytics and media sources which claim that Bakhmut offensive of Russians has its near culmination. Even the commander of Ukrainian forces, the General Syrsky, he mentions that the counteroffensive of Ukraine in Bakhmut is getting extremely close. Because at this moment the only Russians who are relatively successful in this city were Wagner soldiers, who are now rapidly depleting their ranks or even preparing to withdraw, and I will talk about this more in details in my tomorrow's video. But long story short, the offensive, the counteroffensive of Ukraine in Bakhmut is inevitable, and most likely, he says, General Syrsky, it will be something similar as in Kupiansk, as in Kherson, and as in Kharkov regions. And ultimately, to make the situation even worse for Russians, some Russian propagandists, such as for example Oleg Tsarev, he released this video about the potentially upcoming attack of the 1,000 drones of Ukraine against one of the cities. This video basically claims that one day thousands of Ukrainian drones will lift in the air simultaneously. They will start flying towards one city, and they will be piloted by extreme professionals who will be hundreds of kilometers away from these drones. And because these drones are so small and agile, they'll be able to go around every corner and inside every building, which basically means that whatever city, I guess you already know which one, that whatever city Ukrainians targeted, it will be the beginning of the ultimate liberation. And I mean the culmination of the Russian offensive in Bakhmut, the potential withdrawal of Wagner from this city, and several statements that Ukrainians are preparing their counteroffensive to retake Bakhmut. All this, the timing of all these statements, it's just too good not to be a coincidence. And if you want to stay with all of us and witness these events unfold right in front of your eyes, just please once again subscribe to my channel. It only takes one click. And if you want to support my work financially, please consider becoming my channel member, use a PayPal link, or become my Patreon, where there's still 1 week of free access. You can find all the other links to the right and down below. Thank you so much for your attention, and see you tomorrow.